He's right. I am a murderer. But until 6 months ago, I was just an ordinary high school.
I honestly didn't think I was ever going to make another video on this channel. After my last video was the best performing video I ever had, I was kind of going to go hard with the whole YouTube thing. Yeah, that didn't really happen, did it? Well then why am I back now? Honestly, I don't even know. I just feel like I have to make a video about the ending of this current generation of consoles, mainly because in the last 7 to 8 years is when I've grown into myself. It feels like the closing of a chapter in my life, as this was the console generation where I really got into gaming, discovered and played many new stories, and ultimately became the person I am now. Sounds a little dramatic, right? But I'm a nostalgic person, to be quite honest, and looking back at the time, there are some good and bad memories, but the constant there was always gaming, as cliche as that sounds. Yeah, I did start playing video games at a young age, but it was with the 8th generation where I really discovered new games and stories that I've remembered for years to come. Back when I was growing up, I had an original Xbox, a Game Boy Advance, and a Nintendo DS. I remember playing the first 2 Halo games on the original Xbox as some of my earliest gaming memories, and when I was a bit older, I remember playing the Pokemon games on the Game Boy and the DS. Those were honestly some of my fondest memories on those consoles, and from then on I was hooked on gaming, you can say. Aside from owning a Wii, I mostly skipped the 7th generation of consoles. I never owned an Xbox 360 or a PS3, so I really didn't get to experience some of the great games that came out on those consoles. I had some friends that owned them and got to try them out whenever I hung out with them, but I never really made any of those unique memories of my own. And don't get me wrong, I have so many memories with the Wii. It was the first system where I played a Mario platformer, where I played Super Smash Bros, and where I got to try out Zelda for the first time, although, to be honest, I didn't really get into Zelda until a little bit later. So yeah, the Wii era had some fond memories for me, but to be quite honest, it was the 8th generation that really made more of a lasting impression on my life. So I guess I'll first go back to November of 2012, when the 8th generation really started. I was 11 years old, and on a freezing Sunday morning, I woke my parents up at the crack of dawn to see if we can get the brand new Wii U. Honestly, I didn't even expect them to say yes, but a half hour later, we were standing in front of our local Best Buy in the freezing cold weather waiting to get our hands on it. We got the last deluxe bundle they had in stock, and even though the deal was that I couldn't open it before Christmas, I was ecstatic to say the least. It was my first time ever getting a console on launch day too, and it just felt really special. Once I finally got to play it that holiday, I was hooked, playing games like New Super Mario Bros. U and Batman Arkham City for the first time. That period around holiday 2012 is something I'll never forget. Even though the game output for the console over its life was somewhat inconsistent, I knew whenever I was getting a new first-party title that I was in for something special. I remember spending hours playing Super Smash Bros. For Wii U when that came out in 2014, and I remember all the great times I had with games like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze and Super Mario 3D World. Yeah, the system never really hit its full potential, but it's still special to me, and I had a ton of great gaming experiences with the console. The next system I got during that time was the 3DS. By the time I had gotten my hands on one, it was over 2 years since the system first came out back in 2011. All my friends already had one, and I was the only one without it. So I saved up a bunch of money for my birthday, and in October of 2013 I got a 3DS XL, the Pokemon X and Y Limited Edition, along with my own copy of Pokemon X. It was the only game I had for a while, and I remember sinking hours into everything that the game had to offer. Like the Wii U, I made some great gaming memories on there, especially since this was the system where I first played titles in the Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing franchises, and really delved deep into the Zelda franchise. The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds will always be a special game for me, as it was my first real introduction to the series and is still one of my favorite games. The 3DS was the system where I really tried to expand my palette in terms of games that I was interested in. It was the console where I first played a JRPG with Bravely Default, a tactical RPG with Project Cross Zone, and finally got to try out games like Xenoblade Chronicles with that game's new 3DS port. If I hadn't tried out some of those games on the 3DS, then I probably wouldn't have explored games like Bayonetta 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U. The 3DS was really where I expanded my horizon in terms of gaming, trying new types and styles of games that I now love. But I also just didn't want to limit myself to Nintendo games as I had in the past. I knew that I was missing out on some great experiences on other consoles, so in December of 2014 I got a PS4. Here's where I really discovered the value of storytelling in gaming, as one of the first experiences I had with the console was with The Last of Us Remastered. I think that within the first 5 months of me owning the console, I had played that game like 6 times. I was pretty hooked. The story was just so damn great, and within months of owning the console, I had memories that have stayed with me over the past few years. I was also finally able to play games like Grand Theft Auto 5, a game that really just lives up to the hype in every single way, and Skyrim. How can I forget about that? I played the hell out of Skyrim and Fallout 4, my first introductions to Bethesda games. This was really when I felt like I wasn't missing out on games that I've heard others talk about for years. Well, life goes on though, and towards the tail end of the generation I was playing less games than usual. That really started in 2018. The only games I really remember playing were Wolfenstein: The New Colossus and Red Dead Redemption 2. I also played my fair amount of Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Switch, but that was more of a pick it up and put it back down game for me. I never really got into competitive Smash like that. I really only ever played it for fun. Even Red Dead Redemption 2, which I just really love, took me a while to beat. I bought it on launch day and didn't beat it until the following summer, just before I left for college. Same thing happened in 2019. The only game I really remember playing was Death Stranding on the PS4, another game that's just an incredibly unique experience and one that I really love. I still love to play video games, don't get me wrong, but I found that I have less and less time to dedicate to playing them. Well, recently, due to everything going on in the world, I've been playing some more games. I played The Witcher 3 for the first time, I finally beat Fire Emblem Three Houses, and got to experience The Last of Us Part 2. A divisive game for sure, but one that I still greatly enjoyed. In a way, it was somewhat poetic for The Last of Us Part 2 to cap off the 8th generation of games, just like the first game as well as Grand Theft Auto 5 did 7 years ago. Yeah, I'm a vastly different person than I was 7 years ago, but I was able to make so many memories with these games over that time. It felt right to make this video, you know, mainly because it feels like the closing of a chapter not only for this era in gaming, but also for myself as a person. And with that, the 8th generation is over. I'm gonna miss it, to be honest, but I'm also excited to experience all the new stories that are gonna be told on these new consoles. I've got my PlayStation 5 pre-ordered, and I can't wait to start a new chapter as I enter into not only a new era of gaming, but of life in general.